I call to order the March 20th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Please join me for the flag pledge. Erickson, will you please do a roll call of members?
Hensley, Kaluza, Vich,
Here.
Zimmer, Eink,
Here.
Swenson.
Here.
Great. Agenda item number 3, approval of minutes. Approval of the March 6th, 2025 Planning Commission minutes. Any changes? The minutes shall stand. Agenda item number 4, Ms. Jensen, any announcements?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Before you tonight, you have the motions for your handouts. You have the motions from last night's Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Committee meeting. You also have some revised stipulations for our first agenda item, the Spirit of Brandtjen Farm 25th edition, and I'll touch on that during my presentation. And then just for informational purposes, if tonight's items aren't tabled, they'll move forward to April 7th City Council meeting. And due to a lack of agenda items, the April 3rd Planning Commission meeting will be canceled.
All right, thank you.
And that's it.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 5. This is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to speak on any of the agenda items tonight, please make sure that you fill out the information in the back on the agenda item that you would like to speak on. This is the Spirit of Brandtjen Farms 25th edition. This is a public hearing to consider the application of tradition development for a preliminary plot and PUD development stage plans of 9 lots to be known as Spirit of Brandtjen Farms 25th edition, and an amendment to the Spirit of Brandtjen Farms planned unit development to allow detached townhouse dwellings within the farmstead preservation area. So here to give us a brief overview of the project is Pat Rossi.
Good evening, Commissioners. Pat Rossi with Tradition Development, 16972 Brandtjen Farm Drive in Lakeville. So pleased to be here tonight to discuss this project. It's the last outlot of developable land that Tradition Companies owns within the almost 600-acre development Spirit of Brandtjen Farms. So we're proposing to build 7 detached townhomes, single-family type units. They're similar or the same as what we had built in our 21st and 23rd editions. We call them our revival townhomes. And, you know, it's a unique site there at Spirit of Brandtjen Farm. And we think that the theme that we're bringing through with these homes will transition well from the residential neighborhood westerly into our office campus there. So looking forward to the staff presentation tonight, and we'll be here for questions and also have our engineering team as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Excuse me. This is a public hearing for the preliminary plat, a PUD amendment, and a development stage plan for Brandtjen Farm 25th edition. Just to remind everyone where they are located, this is north of 170th Street and west of Draft Horse Boulevard. Let me get my mouse here. If you're familiar with the Brandtjen site, the old rebuilt farmhouse is here, and then the 2 barns are here and here. So the proposed additions are in this area. Just for some little informational purposes, these are from the Spirit of Brandtjen Farm PUD booklet that was put together when the project was initially prepared. The master land use plan shows, I know for reference purposes it's a little tough to tell, but this is the farmstead preservation area where the units are proposed to be located. And then again, showing here, they would be roughly in this area. Just for comparison purposes, if you're familiar with kind of the layout of Spirit of Brandtjen Farms, you know, this was the original layout as it was intended, and it has changed quite a bit over the years. So you can see Didn't quite go, the layout is different, but it still ended up being a very nice development. So the PUD amendment is for the master Spirit Brandtjen Farm planned unit development. The farmstead preservation area was, had certain uses that was allowed within it. And from that original PUD ordinance, those allowed uses were those uses within our OR, which is our office residential district. And then I've listed the additional uses that were specifically called out that would be permitted on the site. Again, some of the, smaller restaurant, takeout food, architecturally themed mini storage units, real estate offices, things like that. It was a real mix of items that were considered appropriate for potential development in that area. So again, this is the aerial view of the site a little bit closer in. This is Draft Horse Boulevard here, 170th on the south, and Brandtjen Farm Drive wrapping up and around. This is the site plan for it. Again, 170th Street on the south, Brandtjen Farm Drive, and Draft Horse. You can see the location of the 7 townhome units here. They do front on Draft Horse Boulevard, but they do not have driveway access to Draft Horse. That will be along the rear side. There's a proposed access aisle to provide access to the rear garages. There are some guest parking spaces in this area as well. And then this access connects from Brandtjen Farm Drive through to the parking lot for the office area. It is currently a gravel or an unpaved surface, and it will be paved and striped as a part of this project as well. This is just the plat area. Again, the 7 units. There's a common area lot, the outlot for the access, a lot for the existing office building addition that was done in 2018, and then the outlot for the parking area. I should also point out, I'm going to back up here. There is a proposed sidewalk through the units for a pedestrian connection to, again, connect over through here to these more common public areas of the Brandtjen area, so folks don't have to go all the way around. It provides some additional connectivity in there. Just the landscape plan showing you that they will be adding a variety of trees around the site. And then these are some example building elevations that they shared with us. We didn't have these in your packet, but just to give you a sense of what the units might look like, 1 to 2 story units. And these are, again, as Mr. Rossi said, very similar to the Revival Townhomes that have been built on the north end of Brandtjen Farm. And then I did mention earlier, you have revised stipulations in front of you. Couple of reasons for the revisions. One, there was misnumbering, so there's actually only 13 stipulations and not 14. And the one change to a stipulation was regarding, I gotta see if I can find it here. Number 11, the bottom of the front page, there was some disconnect between the engineering and the planning report as far as whether park dedication had been satisfied or not. Staff's going to do some additional research just because of how the park dead was done for this. So we'll figure that out, and if there's park dead that's required, it'll be addressed with the final plat. So this is just updating that language to that effect. So staff does recommend approval of the preliminary plat, the PUD amendment, and the development stage plan, subject to the 13 stipulations. And I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you. And this is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item can please come forward.
Madam Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the public hearing is now closed. Fellow commissioners, any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
There's a reference in the materials to some parking spaces on Draft Horse Boulevard, a 20-minute parking zone. I was just wondering if this was something that the Lakeville Police would be monitoring and ticketing if necessary.
Thank you, Commissioner Traffus. The intent of that space is for, because there's no driveway access off of Draft Horse, there's no on-street parking in that area. It does allow kind of a pull-off for deliveries or a pickup drop-off sort of situation. It will be signed for, I think the recommendation is like 20-minute parking. So I don't know that it's going to be something that the police are actively there watching. Hope the neighbors would, kind of police themselves with it as well, if it becomes an issue possibly, but the intent there is just, because there's so much more deliveries and things like that, it provides that ability without those uses having to go to the backs of the units. So that's the reason for those spaces there.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
not really any additional questions or anything, but just more of a statement. If I heard it correctly, the last land that Tradition owns in this being developed, is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner Swenson, that's correct. It's a small parcel, I think under 3 acres. And, I think we thought earlier that the similar development up to the north was our last development. This piece we've been hanging on to for possible office expansion, but just haven't needed the space. So this is it for us. It's the last parcel we own.
So again, just kind of reflecting on the fact, this is the 25th addition to this plat. We have a lot of plats that come in and have 1 or 2 or 3 additions to them. To get to the 25th edition, I think is rather remarkable, just in terms of how many times this has been in front of Planning Commission for various products and various things. I'll also state, as the elder person serving on this commission, this predates me being on the commission even when this project started. And just want to reflect on all the work that previous planning commissioners and city council and planning staff all did on this whole development to reach the point that we're at today, and what I think we would all argue is a pretty successful product. I'm happy to support what you're proposing here tonight, and just it's been a pleasure to watch this development as it's proceeded through the years.
Just wanted to echo that yes, this is, I think, been on the Planning Commission for 10 years. I think my second meeting was the Spirit of Brandtjen Farms edition. I think you guys started the project while I was still in high school. So it's been going on, and it's been really has been great to see how it's developed and over the years, and really great products there and great asset to the city.
Sounds like we might be ready for a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move to recommend to City Council approval of the Spirit of Brandtjen Farm 25th Edition Preliminary Plat, PUD Development Stage Plan, and amendment to the Spirit of Brandtjen Farm Plan Unit Development subject to the 13 stipulations listed in the March 13th, 2025 Planning Report.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson, will you please take a roll call?
Tinsley,
Aye.
Kaluza,
Aye.
Marovich, Zimmer,
Aye.
Eink,
Aye.
Swenson,
Aye.
Traffus.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Rossi, well, best of luck on the last part. And we really appreciate you being in Lakeville. All right, agenda item number 6, Lord of Life Townhomes. This is a public hearing to consider the application of Frisbee Properties LLC for the preliminary plot of 24 townhome lots to be known as Lord of Life Townhomes, as well as a variance for a cul-de-sac length and the vacation of public drainage and utility easements. And here to give us a brief overview of the project is Matt Frisbee.
Thank you for having us on the agenda tonight. We sure appreciate it. This project's been in the works for a couple years now. And I'm Matt Frisbee, with River Falls, Wisconsin, Frisbee Properties and Frisbee Companies. And we actually worked with Pastor Jamie, who's here tonight from Lord of Life, back in 2007, did the initial church. And then there was always a thought of what's the master plan and what's the future. And they approached me a couple years back to say, hey, let's take a look at this. And we took it and ran with it. But last February, actually, we looked at this as a concept review with Planning and Council. So it's taken some time, but we've gotten here tonight. We appreciate it. So this is 24 units, so 12 buildings of twin homes. Some common space that we'll look at tonight from the engineering side with pickleball courts and pavilions and different things, but try to keep it pretty straightforward. It's a beautiful infill site that's been, sitting there. Everything else around us has been done for years now, so this is a great infill. So we're expanding the retention pond that's there now, expanding the outlot. Esprit Drive will be dedicated back with the right-of-way after everything's completed. We are asking for some variances in your packet and the drawings there, but I'll be available for any questions afterwards, and we'll let them go into more detail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Good evening, Chair, Commission members. As mentioned, this request is for a property. It's a 5.74 acre piece located south of Lord of Life Church. It is located east of Dodd Lane and then south of Dodd Boulevard. So the property was approved for a rezoning and a comp plan change last year in September of 2024. So the property is now zoned RST2, which is a single and two-family residential district, and the comprehensive plan designation is the low to medium density residential. So the request in front of you tonight is the preliminary plat for a 24-lot twin home development that includes one outlot that will be dedicated to the city for stormwater management, and then one common lot that will have the shared amenities that will be maintained by the HOA. The request is also for a variance for cul-de-sac length. There's the one road that goes into the development, which is Esprit Court. It is proposed at 638 feet. The maximum length in code for a cul-de-sac is 600 feet. So they're asking for a 38-foot variance for that cul-de-sac length. And then they're also asking for a vacation of the existing drainage and utility easements that were found on the parent parcel. So you can see up in the upper right-hand corner there on the southern and western east boundaries, the existing perimeter easements will be vacated, and then those will be rededicated on the new plat. So the proposed development complies with the minimum lot area requirements and setbacks for the units. I just want to make sure your guys' screen is still active. My screen here went blank in front of me, so you guys can still see it? Okay. The applicant is proposing sidewalks on both sides of Esprit Court, and that will connect the development to the common area, and also bring both sidewalks out to Dodd Trail. And then there are no wetlands on the property. Grading of the site, though, does include modifying and increasing the size of an existing public basin in like the southeast corner. And those modifications do lie within Outlot A that will be dedicated to the city. And then landscaping is proposed along Dodd Trail, and throughout the development. So the applicant has submitted exterior elevations of the townhome units and proposed building materials that could take place. So what was submitted does comply with city requirements. And then staff is recommending approval of all three requests with the 7 stipulations that are listed in your report and the findings of fact that were included with the packet for the variance. So I will be available for questions once you move on to that stage.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And this is also a public hearing, so anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item could come forward.
Madam Chair, seeing no one come forward, I would move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the public hearing is now closed. Fellow commissioners, any questions or comments on this agenda item?
Madam Chair, I did have one. It was really cold on the day that I went out there, so I didn't get out of the car. What was in the middle? It looked like the grass was growing so high. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't a pond or wetland, and if it is, that we've addressed all of that. Perhaps the applicant could answer that. I seriously couldn't get out of the car. It was too cold.
No, that's very understandable. So over the last couple of years, we've had wetland delineation completed and they look at the vegetation, they look at everything, and there's nothing that qualifies for wetland through there. There is some lowlands, so as we regrade in there, that grade will be brought up a little bit, so that's why you'll kind of see a little bit of undulation. When the church was done and that was kind of general graded, it was kind of left a little bit more natural. So there's probably a couple low pockets in there.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
My question is about traffic. Dodd Boulevard, busy road. Dodd Lane, I would imagine there's some difficulty maybe making a left turn at the busy times of the morning. Has there been any study about the traffic that these 24 residences would add to that intersection?
We discussed that early on with the amount of density that we're proposing with the 24 and the impact of that. And we were actually out there, I drove by there even tonight as people were coming and kids were out playing different things. The traffic flow in there is actually quite low. So we didn't feel, because the intersections were lining up with each other and perpendicular to the other ones, that it felt with the stop signs that it was all adequate. And then there was enough staging before you get up to Dodd Lane, or Dodd Boulevard, I should say, for cars to be at that stop sign. So it was discussed. A full-blown traffic study was not required for the project for this amount of density.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? Nope. Looks like we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move to recommend to City Council approval of the Lord of Life Townhomes preliminary plat, variance, and easement vacation, subject to the 7 stipulations listed in the March 11th, 2025 Planning Report as amended. Not as amended. Strike that.
Second. Motion and a second. Ms. Erickson, will you please take a roll call?
Kaluza,
Aye.
Marovich,
Aye.
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 Swenson,
Aye.
Traffus,
Aye.
Tinsley.
Aye. All right, Mr. Frisbee, best of luck on your project moving forward. Thank you. Agenda item number 7, Pumpkin Creek. This is a public hearing to consider the application of Peter Knabley for the preliminary plat of 26 single-family lots to be known as Pumpkin Creek and a zoning map amendment of the property from RS2 Single Family Residential District to RS3 Single Family Residential District. And we have David here to give us a brief overview.
Chair, Commission members, my name is David Knabley. I'm a civil engineer at the firm Civil Site Group, who's doing the civil engineering for this project. As you stated, the project for 26 new single-family properties off of 185th Street, just north of recently platted and approved and under construction, the Preserve development. The project will be the extension of Ixonia Avenue from the Preserve development up to 185th Street. We've been working with staff for quite a while on this one to come up with a plat that's presented before you today. Yeah, we're here if you got any questions. We're here to answer any questions you got, but we've reviewed the staff report and everything. We agree with all of their recommendations in there, so look forward to moving this project along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Commission members. So this request is for property that's located south of 185th Street, also known as County Road 60. It's located north of 190th, and as mentioned with the road Ixonia Avenue, that's going to connect through the development. So the property is currently zoned RS2, which is the single-family residential development. The applicant developer is requesting that the 20-acre parcel be rezoned to the RS3 single-family residential district. So the property is located within the MUSA boundaries and is able to connect to city water and sewer. And then the proposed RS3 zoning is consistent with the development to the south. So it matched the pretty much all the lots there to the south of this development all the way to 190th. And it will also remain consistent with that current comp plan designation of the low-density residential. So they're not asking to change the comp plan, only the rezoning from the RS2 to RS3. In addition to that, they are also asking for a preliminary plat approval for a 26-lot, 3-outlot subdivision to be known as Pumpkin Creek. Exonia Avenue is the main road that is going north-south, connecting from the development to the south all the way up to 185th Street. There's also one small cul-de-sac and then 2 other future public streets that are proposed for with an east-west connection to future developments on both sides. The lot sizes for this development range from about 11,000 square feet to 24,255 square feet. So those meet and exceed our code requirements for minimum lot size. The proposed building pads, I guess this map is a little bit hard to see, but the proposed building pads comply with our setback requirements. There are a number of wetlands on this site, and they will be located within the outlots, and those outlots will be dedicated to the city. The applicant is also proposing a couple public stormwater basins that you can see kind of north and south of the outlot here. Those basins will provide the water quality treatment and rate control for the stormwater runoff that is generated from the site. So staff is recommending approval of both the rezoning and the preliminary plat with the 9 stipulations listed in your report, and including the findings of facts listed with the rezoning. So I'll be available for questions.
Thank you. And this is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item can please come forward.
East Sullivan, we live just to the east of the development. I have one question. Could you explain what an RS-2 is and an RS-3, the difference of the two?
We'll take all questions, and then when we close the public hearing, we'll answer them. Thank you. Hello.
My name's Josh Wolter. Grew up in Lakeville. Been around Lakeville. Pat, I think we graduated together. I live across the street from where this is planned. So this pretty much affects me greatly. It took me, I don't want to impede progress here, but just tonight it took me 6 minutes to take a left-hand turn out of my street. Right now, 185th Street is getting widened, as we all know. More traffic, way more traffic is going to be coming down this street. So we're talking 26 lots. 2 cars at least per family, I would assume. 50-some cars. Plus the fact that Exonia is going to go through. So we're going to get cars coming from those neighborhoods as well. I'm a bit concerned about some of that traffic. I have 2 kids, 2 sons. So this traffic is concerning. Also, beyond that, the wetlands. I grew up 2 houses down. So actually, my dad lives across the street. So I grew up at 10132 185th Street. That's a 15-acre parcel. My dad's property is designated as one of the higher wetlands in the area. This adds to that wetland. My property across the street has a lot of runoff from North Lakeville, runs down into that wetland. And then that wetland, as the USGS topographical map shows, runs through and down into Lake Marion. So anything and everything done in this area affects Lake Marion. So we need to consider how we approach this wetland, this marsh. There's a lot of animals. My property has, I don't want to say a stream. It's not really a stream. It's a runoff. But many of the deer in the area rest in the winter across in my cattails. They run across this area. So them not having a way to get across, especially across 4 lanes of traffic now, is also a bit concerning. So there's a lot of nature involved with this whole deal. Just like anywhere else, I guess, there's a lot of nature involved. But you're talking swampland instead of farmland. It's a little easier with farmland because it's already been developed into a way that you can develop it further. Swampland, you're affecting a lot more animals, a lot more area. So I'm just concerned about how this is going to change, affect the area, affect traffic, affect how animals move in through this area. So I just have concerns with this whole deal. I believe that you can put more properties on this plot. I'm not going to go against saying that you can't put more. I'm concerned with the amount and that they're going to be close to 185th Street, and it's going to impede kind of the way the street looks the way it is now. And so I'd like just to consider that we maybe less plots on the property, maybe not 26, maybe go 15 or something, so that there's less cars, less traffic, more nature. And that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this agenda item?
Madam Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the public hearing is now closed. Okay, so we had a couple of questions. I think first, could we talk about the difference between the RS2 and the RS3 district?
Yes, so they're both, as I mentioned, both single-family residential districts. The RS2 district, the biggest thing is the minimum lot size. That's going to be the biggest difference between the two. So RS2, the minimum lot size for an interior lot is 15,000 square feet, and a corner lot would be 18,000 square feet. Going up to the RS3 allows for smaller lot sizes. So now you're looking at an interior lot, the minimum lot size of 11,000 square feet, and then a corner lot of 12,500 square feet. Does that answer the question? All right.
Yep, sounds like it. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I might continue just a little further than that, I'm just thinking development-wise in recent times, many of the lots that we're developing in new developments tend to be the RS4, is that correct, with even smaller lot requirements? And RS3 is more typical of what we would see from development, say, from the 90s and into the 2000s?
Correct. I would agree with that. And in this way, as I mentioned, you're seeing a wide variety of those lot sizes, that we do have some larger, up to like 20,000 plus square feet lots in this area too. And then I think regarding the stormwater runoff, I might defer that to engineering, and he can maybe address the post versus pre kind of numbers that we look at, and how we calculate stormwater. All right, thanks.
Yeah, so the next questions were, yes, about runoff into Lake Marion and the wetlands, and then also to talk about traffic.
The stormwater runoff is meeting all city ordinance requirements. We went through an extensive review process for that. Just all ordinance requirements are met as far as City of Lakeville requirements.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So if you maybe expand upon that, it looks like we've got kind of a combination of a couple of stormwater ponds. Is there any kind of infiltration or filtration required here and things that we're doing for water quality treatment?
I think the applicant can speak slightly more to that, but they are meeting our rate and runoff controls for the development.
Chair, commission members, yeah, the plan right now is we're proposing 2 stormwater detention basins. Due to the types of soils present, infiltration is not feasible on this site. And based on city, I think it's an ordinance, they don't allow filtration as water quality treatment. So the stormwater ponds are acting as both water quality treatment to treat the water before it goes into the wetland, and then also to provide rate control to slow the water down to match the rates that are currently leaving the site and going into the wetland. So the water quality that ends up in Lake Marion should be as good or better than kind of what's going there currently.
And then could we have the wetland map brought up, please?
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe the applicant, if you can just kind of show with the mouse kind of where those are, just so to help people understand.
Yeah, so the existing wetland is this area inside the green. The green is the proposed wetland buffer area where we're not going to be touching or doing any grading to maintain the existing wetland characteristics in the area. The fill for the wetland is to construct the road from the preserved development up north to 185th Street. So this area of existing wetland is getting filled. And then the stormwater ponds that we're proposing, there's a larger basin on the north side here and a smaller basin on the south side, treating the runoff from the south side of development, and then the runoff from the north side of development goes into this basin on the north end, both of them discharging into the wetland.
I just have one further question. Some places, some places in Lakeville have a underpass for the deer and things like that. Is there anything that would call for something like that in what you guys have seen and noticed?
Nothing that we've noticed. I don't know if the county would ever think about doing that as part of their reconstruction for 185th Street when they put that in, but as for this development, that wasn't something that was really contemplated because it should allow still some movement east and west through the development through that wetland area. But the county road getting from the north side to the south side, I'm not sure what they would want to do for that.
Madam Chair, since we've started to delve into the county road issue here a little bit, first one is for you. Just want to make sure that obviously we got reconstruction starting soon on 185th Street in this location. I'm assuming this plan is coordinated with what's going on with Dakota County's plans for the road?
Correct. Yeah, we've coordinated our, entry drive location to match up with where the crossing is. We still, once the plat gets approved, do have to coordinate just a little bit of construction of some turn lane that the county would require to turn into this development. But it has been coordinated and laid out to match up with what they're proposing.
Excellent, thank you. And if I may continue, then for city staff, city engineer, can you talk a little bit about what this intersection is proposed to look like with the reconstruction of 185th and kind of who controls what that intersection looks like, who makes decisions on, is it stop signs, signals, that type of thing? If you could expand on that a little bit.
It is currently proposed as a full access intersection. Dakota County would end up having jurisdiction for future restrictions to the roadway, as 185th is a county roadway.
So I think it's the way I would kind of follow up on that. Being a county road, county kind of has the primary jurisdiction over making those decisions on what may happen. If anything, are they going to do anything that's probably going to do any kind of signals or anything like that in this location? Or if traffic really does become an issue, what likely option would they maybe pursue here?
They'll continue to monitor at this intersection and at the corridor as a whole post-construction. They'll take a look at what the impacts of the modernization project does to the corridor as a whole, and then they'll provide recommendations for future intersection restrictions. Typically, you end up with a 3/4 access or a right in, right out as the recommendation that the county would have for if an intersection were to be restricted.
So kind of thinking about it, because of how close we are to the intersection with IPAVA and the stoplight there, the odds that this would ever see a signal are pretty low. They would likely restrict things further and restrict access to right in, right out, or 3/4 access if and when traffic demands warranted that.
Yep, correct.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I'm sure I'm trying to remember if we covered all the questions asked.
Yeah, I was thinking of the traffic. Was there did you mention if there was a? Yeah, unfortunately, the public hearing's closed. I'm sorry. Okay, so was there a traffic study with both of these together? Was there a traffic study done?
There wasn't a traffic study with 185th Street. There was a traffic impact analysis that took place with the project that was one of the factors for the project taking place to begin with for 185th.
ask a question?
Mhm.
Once it's developed, will there be a traffic study done?
Not for Pumpkin Creek development. They will take a look at the traffic counts for the 185th Street project once that construction's complete. And depending on how construction timelines end up, this traffic may be incorporated in their numbers that they'd produce from that.
All right, I'm just trying to make sure we're providing the folks who asked questions about it with some avenues to pursue.
Yep, I guess I should also make note that the plat was reviewed by the Plat Commission with Dakota County, and they recommended approval back on October 25th, 2024 of the preliminary plat that was in front of them. Once you receive, and that was actually for 29 residential lots with the one access point. And they stated that their right-of-way needs had been met. They'll have restricted access, so they couldn't have another road going north-south to connect onto the county road. And then once we receive the final plat, that will also be sent again back to the county to review again just one more time to make sure nothing changed in the meantime.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
I think more just a comment here too, as I'm looking at the plat and thinking about this. One, you see the roadway connecting all the way through the development to the road to the south. Fact of the matter, with that development to the south, it set up this connection and was going to allow this. And we try really hard with these developments as they come into the city to try and make it so it's not a case of you can't get there from here, that you can cross through from one development to the next, that type of thing. So I know we've got property owners on adjacent properties. You can see a street that's stubbed out to your property there. So in the future, if and when you decide to develop your property, there's an opportunity to connect that street there, and also just provide that neighborhood connectivity for people walking, biking, et cetera, that type of thing. Also provides for alternate ways to get out of the neighborhood for public safety, that type of thing, and alternate directions. And as traffic becomes an issue or maybe an issue, it also provides opportunities for people to kind of have some institutional memory. They adapt and they modify their habits in terms of trying to find accesses that work better for their needs, that type of thing. So just wanted to point a couple of those things out with the connectivity that I see as I look at this. One other comment, if I may. You know, we're talking about a potential rezoning from an RS2 to an RS3 here, which does allow some smaller lots, that type of thing. But at the same time, I would say, by and large, what we've been seeing as a planning commission has not been these RS3 lots as of late. So these are actually some of the larger lots that we tend to see anymore for residential development. And I think it fits with the character of the land. I think there's always been some questions about how these smaller 10-acre parcels through this area were going to develop and how they might connect in the future. So seeing this piece come into place and how this lays out, this makes sense to me as I look at it, and seems to fit with the character of the land there.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions?
Motion to recommend to the City Council approval of the Pumpkin Creek preliminary plat and zoning map amendment, subject to the 9 stipulations listed in the March 11th, 2025 planning report.
Second. And in a second, Ms. Erickson, will you please take a roll call vote?
Marovich,
Aye.
Zimmer,
Aye.
Eink,
Aye.
Swenson,
Aye.
Traffus,
Aye.
Tinsley,
Aye.
Kaluza.
Aye.
Well, thank you and best of luck on your project. It looks like agenda item number 8, so we do have Ms. Jensen.
I wanted to make an announcement, let everybody know that this is Chair Marovich's last meeting. She's been on the Planning Commission for 6 years and has been chair since January of 2023. So thank you for your service, and we will miss you. That's all.
Thank you. All right, and with that, meeting is adjourned.